Classes are over for the day, but I'm still in a bit of a somber mood. I'm the only one left in the classroom. After-school club activities have been suspended because of the serial killings. Almost all the students have already gone home, leaving the school building as silent as the grave. It doesn't look like Senpai's going to pay me a visit. I guess she meant it when she said we were through.
いや、別に気にしてないし。単に休んでいただけだし。もうさっさと帰るからな。
Yeah, right. I mutter aloud to the empty classroom.
Mail?
As I leave the classroom to head home, I hear my phone vibrate. I reach into my bag and pull it out. Surprisingly, the text seems to be from Noel-sensei. Its contents are brief. You free? I've got something I want to show you, so can you come over? Oh, and no telling Ciel-san, okay? An address and a map are attached to the message. Why does she have my number? May as well go check it out. I don't know what she wants, but this could be a good way to take my mind off of things. If I went straight back to the mansion, I'd just end up wallowing and getting even more depressed. Okay, kinda suspicious, but you know what? Let's go with it. Why not? There's an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. It closed down a few years ago because the company that owned it went bankrupt. I'm looking for what used to be the administrative building. Her text said she'd meet me on the 4th floor.
ここでいいんだよな。
I'm standing in front of a fire escape. This seems to be an incredibly dangerous meeting spot, but I've definitely got the right address. This place has me on edge, but it'd be stupid to leave after coming all this way. I'll have a quick peek upstairs. If Noel-sensei isn't there, I'll just turn around and go home. I climb the rusty stairs, trying to make as little noise as possible. They're in pretty rough shape. It's like the whole building has just been left here to rot.
これ、崩れないだろうな。
I cautiously ascend the stairs. As I do, I definitely just heard something. I don't think it was the wind either.
今の足音、上からだな。
The higher I climb, the louder they get. Before long, I've reached the 4th floor. A closed iron door stands in front of me. I try the doorknob, and it turns smoothly. It's not locked. It sounds like the noise is coming from in here. Hello? I open the door and peer inside the room. It's dark. The room is completely shut off from the outside, and since the place is abandoned, the power to the lights is out too. Except, over on the other side of the room, there's something flashing intermittently.
Noel 先生。
I call out to her before going inside.
あ、来てくれたのね、しきくん。ごめんなさい、迎えに行けなくて。とにかく入って入って。
What are you doing in here? I hear Noel-sensei's voice. It seems like this is definitely the right place. As soon as I take my hand off the door, it swings shut under its own weight. I squint as I peer into the darkness. Taking out your aggression on more of the dead, I guess? Before I can even ask myself what's going on here, my hand instinctively reaches up to pinch my nose. Oh yeah. This odor is repulsive but familiar. I can feel the floor squelch under my feet. I slip my knife into the cuff of my sleeve so that I can draw it at any moment's notice, then continue to advance toward the other side of the room. There. There sits a pair of vampires. They've each been tied to their chairs. And had gags stuffed in their mouths. Their bodies twitch and convulse uncontrollably. Jesus. They are the source of the stench that clogs my nostrils. The rattling noise I'd heard earlier is the heels pounding against the floor as they desperately try to escape from the pain. Their feet are slowly being scorched, presumably by the light that surrounds each of the chairs. The pain of being roasted alive must be agonizing, as the edges of their gags are so frothy with spit that it's dripped down and soaked their chins. Just how long have they had their feet to the coals like this? They've been screaming for so long that the veins on their necks are bulging, and their muscles are so tense that you can see the outlines of their bones. Their writhing bodies are drenched head to toe in blood. It's clear at a glance that it's because they've been thrashing about trying to break free of their restraints, in addition to the injuries from all the different tools they've been mutilated by.
こっちよ、シキ君。シエルさんには内緒にしてくれた？
Blood and scraps of flesh are smeared all across the walls and floor. Being in this room feels just like being back at the passageway down in the catacombs beneath the department store. Right in the center of it all is a woman looking down at the two bound men with a wide smile on her face. Noel sensei. I'm so disturbed that I can't even ask her what the hell is going on here. Instead, I just stare at the woman in front of me, my question writ clear across my face.
わからない？シキ君には何度も助けられたし、いい機会だから私たちのお仕事を見せてあげようと思って。それにほら、この子たちのこと覚えてる？
I remember them all right. I recognized them as soon as I laid eyes on them. The two men sitting on the chairs are the same ones who dumped me in the catacombs. Interesting.
そういうこと。私だけで始末してもいいんだけど、あなたもこいつらには貸しがあるでしょ？だから仕返しさせてあげようと思って。はーい。お待ちかねの懺悔タイムよ、君たち。もう誰もやってこないし、防音は完璧だし、無粋なおしゃぶりは取っちゃいましょうね。
She ungags one of the vampires. You'd never imagine that the gurgling sound issuing from its lips was breathing. It was more like a broken pump attempting to spit out some water trapped inside it. It coughs violently, expelling the foamy mixture of blood and saliva that had collected in its mouth, then raises its head and stares at the woman. The look of bloodlust and hatred in its eyes was nowhere to be found. It's been hours since it last held any such hope that it might be able to fight back.
嫌だ嫌なんです。死にたくない死にたくない。せっかく不死身になったのにこんなところで死にたくない。もうやめてください。許してください。
What do you mean just became immortal?
こんなのってないです。いくらなんでもあんまりです。俺たちだって被害者なんです。
Right now, it's helplessly weak. It's weak and so frail that even the slightest push would send it to its grave. It's begging for help with all its might, desperately clinging to life. By nature, human beings feel compassion toward any being weaker than themselves. We possess the intelligence to judge people not for their past deeds, but for who they are in the present. Take how criminals are handled, for example. No matter how heinous their crimes, once they have been captured and rendered powerless, they are granted forgiveness and a chance to make up for their past mistakes. Only those who have suffered at the hands of the criminal in question have the right to choose whether to denounce this compassion as simple naivete, or to quietly uphold it as an exclusively human example of benevolence. My god. The woman is merciless. She listened patiently as the weak creature begged for its life, and only when it was finished did she set about disposing of it, meticulously slicing off one piece of it for every entreaty it had uttered. She starts with 5 of its fingers, then onto the wrist, from there its elbow, its shoulders, then just to spice things up, another finger. When there are none left, she swaps out her tools and sets to work on its internal organs. Gone is the instrument she'd used for slicing and snapping. Instead, she continues to dispose of its body using a tool designed for stabbing and burning. It's almost like watching someone prepare a meal. She could be a chef filleting a live fish, except the difference in technique and philosophy is like night and day. A chef has the skill to determine where to cut so as to avoid killing, and their philosophy is to preserve the freshness of the fish. But she's is the opposite. There's no artistry to her technique at all. The only reason this thing is still alive is that it's hard to kill. There's only one thing they do have in common, and it's a tenuous connection at best. They share a common objective to create a delicious meal. She disposes of it while it's still alive. She leaves its vocal organs for last, just so that she can savor its delicious screams.
入れないで、戻し入れないで、その蓋を閉じないで。
Ugh. The screams soon cease. Not because it died, but because its body disappeared from the chair. The woman meticulously dismembered the vampire until only its head remained alive, then packed all of the parts into a 50-centimeter square box and sealed it shut. The remaining vampire watched it all unfold with his face contorted in fear. Or, more accurately, he was forced to watch it. Its eyelids had been sliced off before the show started, denying it the ability to look away from the grisly scene. I can hear its blood-choked wheezing. A desperate scream is leaking through a gap in its gag. No doubt it's begging for its life.
どう？この海底の吸血鬼に痛覚はないんだけど、特別にこいつらにも通じる道具でバラバラにしてあげてるの。たった1日の審問時間しかないんだもの。これぐらいはやらないと、この子たちに騙されて殺された人たちの無念は晴らせないでしょ。
The woman takes her eyes off the vampire and approaches me, her boots noisily sticking to the floor. She's carrying what looks like an antique coping saw in her hands.
さあ、四季君もどうぞ。
What do you mean, my
これは
turn?
洗礼済みの器具だから、素人が使っても効能は発揮されるわ。切れ味は悪いけど、その分頑丈で、吸血鬼は触れた箇所から焼かれていくから、返り血も出ない優れものよ。あ、いきなり首を切るのも悪くないけど、初めはやっぱり小指からの方が簡単だから、できるだけ苦しめて殺しちゃって。
The woman holds out the coping saw to me. I will give him just desserts just as she did. Won't do something so pointless. Interesting decision here. As always, we save. This decision, like, it kind of feels like this is the kind of decision that, like, determines what kind of person you are for real. Like, like, what do you think we should, like, what do you think you would choose here? Like, give him just a search just as she did, or won't do something so pointless? This is kind of like a stressful decision here, because I feel like no matter what, it's kind of fucked up either way. But I think I wouldn't do something so pointless. Let's do that.
悪趣味だ。とてもじゃないが付き合えない。
Yeah. I swat her hand away. I'm surprised by how violently I pushed her back. I guess it just shows how repulsed I am by her.
へえ、何？悪趣味ってどのあたりが？もしかしてスプラッタすぎた？でも、その割には落ち着いてるわよね、四季くん。普通に生きてきた人間なら、この部屋に入っただけでも大友のなのに、さっきからこいつらじゃなくて、私にしか注意を払ってないし。
Calm down with
趣味が
that.
おかしいのは私だけじゃないと思うけど、それとも性癖がバレないようにいい子ちゃんぶってるとか？
Oh god. I resist the urge to rise to her provocation. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm a good person or anything. I just said it was messed up because her actions don't really serve her goal.
殺すのなら無駄なく殺すべきだ。俺は人間を襲う吸血鬼を殺したいだけで、いたぶりたいわけじゃない。
はあ？人間を襲う吸血鬼を殺したい？バックじゃないの？それがいい子ちゃんぶってるって言うのよ。吸血鬼は何であれ殺すの、死ぬの。考えられる限りの傷を重ねて、自分からもう殺してくださいって懇願するまで苦しめるものなんだってば。
Jesus. Without taking her eyes off me, the woman casually launches her weapon at the chair behind her. The weapon skewers his groin. His muffled howls of anguish reverberate throughout the concrete room. He's frothing at the mouth so vigorously that it reminds me of a hot pot that's reached a rolling boil.
さあ殺して。相手は何もできない生肉よ。あなたが今まで殺してきた死者より簡単な作業でしょ。違うのは、あれは人間らしい知性があって、人間らしい悲鳴を上げて、人間らしい生活をしてたってことだけじゃない。
Wouldn't that be kind of alarming, though?
人の痛みが分かる相手なら、人間の痛みを味わってから無残に落ちぬべきなのよ。
Her eyes are filled with hatred. Not for the vampire, but for me, the person who refused to torture it. Noel hates me for disagreeing with her values, but also herself for being so weak that my rejection was enough to make her conviction waver.
じゃあどうするの？もしこいつがもう人間は襲わないなんて誓ったら見逃してあげるの？生かしてあげるの？信じられない。こいつらが何人罪もない人間を餌食にしてきたと思ってるの？こいつらは怪物なのよ。なのにただ人間っぽいって理由だけで人間扱いしてやるの？君は。
I can't deny it. It's true that the man in front of me tried to kill me. He succeeded in killing countless others the same way. But that's besides the point. She didn't say that's why I should kill them at all. Instead, she implied that anyone who becomes a vampire cannot be allowed to live, that they aren't entitled to the same rights as a human, that they deserve to die no matter what kind of individual they may be. I can't endorse that way of thinking. If I come face to face with a vampire that preys on humans, or a living disaster like Vlad, then of course I'd have no choice but to fight to the death to defend myself. But if a vampire doesn't attack humans, instead choosing to live quietly among them, then I have no reason to kill it. There's just no incentive for me to go that far.
ああ、そう、分かったわよ。こんな国でのんきに生きてる君に期待しちゃった私が間抜けってわけね。せめてそこで見張り役でもやっといて。かかしみたいに突っ立って、こいつらの末路をよーく覚えておくがいいわ。
The woman turns away from me and walks over to the vampire tied to the chair. She yanks the gag from his mouth.
助けてください。助けてください。
Plaintive cries for help spill from his lips, the mere sound of which would tug on anyone's heartstrings. Perhaps he's actually earnestly vowing to better himself, vowing that if he can escape from this nightmare where the woman in front of him is about to blank him alive, he'll do everything he can to atone for his sins. Much in the same manner as a profligate sinner who has suddenly seen the light and awoken a fervent believer in the Lord.
ダメ。あなたは死ぬの。というか死ぬの。死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの死ぬの。
I counted 21 dies. Nice. The dismemberment begins. Piercing screams cut through the air. Her ferocity only intensifies with each passing minute. Even what she did to the first body looks tame in comparison. The tool she had wielded so efficiently before is now brandished wildly. Her dissection is no longer cold and meticulous, but downright cruel. Her screams of condemnation are so fierce that I can hardly tell which of them is the demon anymore.
殺してやる殺してやる殺して殺して殺して殺して跡形もなく殺してやる死ね死ね死ね死ね死ね早く死ね今すぐ死ね最後まで苦しめ限界まで助けを食え吸血鬼も吸血鬼のなり損ないも吸血鬼になるやつもみんな汚らわしいウジ虫と同じなんだから
Hey, Shiki, let me tell you something. This is when you Scott Pilgrim jump out of the window and hightail out of there. When you see some shit like this.
ねえそうでしょ私の言っていることわかるわよね四季君吸血鬼になった者は速やかに死ぬべきなのこいつらはゴミ以下なの病原菌なのただそこにいるだけで汚物を垂れ流す害悪なのよ
She picks up the instrument of justice that was lying in the corner of the room. You couldn't call what she is doing torture or dismemberment at this point. The woman lifts the nearly 2-centimeter long halberd, scraping the walls and ceiling in the process, and begins to pulverize the vampire's body. With a dull thud, her strike rends his flesh and shatters his bones. The vampire's body crumples in on itself as it's torn in half along with the chair it was sitting in. Her crushing blow was so violent that the chains binding his arms to the chair have come loose, and the blades driven into the floor have been blown away. Its restraints gone, the upper half of the vampire begins to frantically crawl across the floor.
ほら見てよこのありさまゴキブリみたいこんなになってもこいつらは死なないの気持ち悪い気持ち悪い気持ち悪い気持ち悪いこんなの生きてる価値もない
Good lord. I mean, I know that little temper tantrum she had last night was something, but goddamn. Look at her now. Thus ends the dismemberment of the second body. I really hope I'm not next, that's for sure. She doesn't even bother to put this one in a box. It's been beaten to such a pulp that nobody would be able to recognize it anyway, so there's no need to pack it up and take it home. The woman is staring at the floor, her back to me.
ほらやっぱり私の方が正しいじゃない吸血鬼は害悪なんだってもし自分がそうなんだって分かった時は死んで自分から死んで
Those eyes. Good
みっとも
lord.
なく泣き叫びながら死にたくないって謝りながら首をかっきってそれができないなら糞尿漏らしながらひざまずいて何度も何度も命乞いをした後
With glassy eyes, she spits out a string of curses. Her halberd falls to the floor with a loud clang. Her shoulders had been shaking as she panted, but she takes a deep breath and steadies herself.
なんてちょっと脅かしすぎちゃった
Oh, now you want to act all playful and shit. Hell no.
四季くんたら危機感が薄いからお姉さんついやりすぎちゃった
She's like an entirely different person. It's as though whatever had possessed her is gone, and she's back to being the Noel since I remember. I leave the building and climb down the stairs to a sunlit alley. Noel sensei suggested that we not speak of what happened in that room.
使徒と戦うってことがどんなことなのかちゃんと教えておこうと思ってほら保健室で四季くんシエルさんの意見に文句がありそうだったからそれでピンときたのあなたは私と同じで吸血鬼から町を守りたい人なんだ
Not in the way you did. The fuck?
ならお互いの心情は知っておくべきじゃない
Protecting the city from vampires. That should be our top priority. I'm not going to argue there. Even so, I'm hesitant to go along with her while the memory of that horrific display is still fresh in my mind.
俺の心情は単純ですよ。知ってしまったから無視できないし、先輩の助けになりたいだけです。
Well, I mean, not after that falling out, I guess.
それより、ノエル先生は反対しないんですか？シエル先輩は、一般人は吸血鬼には関わらせないと言っていました。
なんで？吸血鬼を殺すのはいいことだし、特別な力があるのなら人々のために使うべきでしょ？教会の代行者だからとか、普通の男子生徒だからとか、そんなの関係ないわ。私は四季君の勇気に拍手を送りたい気分だけど。
She clearly approves of my involvement. I saw some evidence of this already back in the infirmary, but it seems like she really doesn't share the same policy as Ciel-senpai. Ciel-senpai tells me that I shouldn't fight. Noel-sensei tells me that I should fight. It seems like I owe senpai more than I thought. When presented with both of their conflicting perspectives, it really drives home just how differently they think about things. One of them wants to do what's right as a human being, while the other is more concerned with my safety.
それにしてもシエルさんにも困ったものね。事態を一日でも早く収束させることが最善の手段なのに、四季君の協力を拒んだり、優先度の低い調査を始めたり、気が緩んでるんじゃないかしら。ま、それも演技なんでしょうけど、あの冷酷な悪魔がたった数日で変わるはずがないんだし。
冷酷って、シエル先輩のどこが？
Both what she said and the way she said it have caught my attention. It's only a hunch, but I feel like the words Noel-sensei just muttered hold some hint about her own true nature.
ほら、分かってない。あの子が誰にも優しい、底抜けの善人だとでも思っていたんでしょ？
I guess both arcueid and Ciel are hiding some inner thoughts.
人間らしい感情なんてありっこないの。いい意識くん。あの子の笑顔は全部作り物だから。その方が仕事を進めやすいからそうしてるだけで。君だって騙されているだけなのよ。
Is she gonna, like, leak to Shiki that she is a pseudo-vampire? I feel like this is where this is going. Despite squaring up to her a piece of my mind, I can't manage to come up with any objections. How am I supposed to jump to Senpai's defense when I angered her myself not that long ago?
あら、思うところがあったみたいね。君もうすうす感づいてたってこと？ちょっと脅かして様子を見るだけだったけど、そういうことなら私も踏み込んであげる。四季くん、シエルさんのことを知りたいんでしょ？あの子がどんな人間なのか、どうせあの子は話さないだろうから、特別に私が教えてあげる。
There's a hint of malice in Noel-sensei's smile. I'm conflicted. I know that I shouldn't pry, but I'm also desperate to learn more about Senpai. In the end, I can't bring myself to stop her. Noel-sensei begins to tell me about Senpai's past, as though relishing in my inner conflict.
私たち代行者は二人一組が基本だけど、狩りの成功率は高くない。大抵どちらかが死ぬか、両方とも殺されて終わりって世界よ。もし10年以上代行者をやってる奴がいたら、そいつはそれだけで立派な異常者として扱われる。心が壊れているか、とっくに吸血鬼化しているのに隠しているとか、まあいろいろ陰口言われるわけ。そんなひっどい職場で、あの子は何体もの吸血鬼を殺してきた。どんなにひどい使徒が相手でも生き残る。どんなにずる賢い使徒が相手でも正体を突き止める。成功率は実に 100%。ほとんど奇跡よ、こんなの。 あの子が鬼子の扱いじゃなきゃ聖女認定されてるくらい。まあ、それができたのはほんと単純な理由なんだけど、それはまた後で話すとしましょう。大公社シエルの名前は人たちにも知れ渡ってる。13歳で大公社になった吸血鬼狩りのエリート。大公社になってからもひたすら使徒を殺し続けて、ついには埋葬機関にまでスカウトされた。吸血鬼を殺すためだけに生きてるマシン。君も見たでしょ？ブローブなんて怪物と渡り合っていたもう一人のモンスターの姿を。
I want to refute what she just said, but I also don't want to interrupt the conversation. Also, it's weird, but when Noel Sensei describes Senpai as a monster, it doesn't sound like she's looking down on her at all. On the contrary, it's like her voice is filled with respect.
ああ、埋葬機関っていうのは私たちにとってそうね、教会の中の治外法権。権力に近寄れない代わりに権力に縛られない、動く武器庫みたいなものと思って。ごく少数で組織された公安警察みたいな。埋葬機関は他の秘跡会と連携を取る局長と、その局長に管理される7人の代行者で構成されている。本当は予備の代行者がもう一人いて、実践要員は8人いるらしいんだけど、大司教から自由行動の特権を許されたのは7人だけ。それ以上増やすのは危険と判断されたのね。局長ナルバレックを筆頭に集まった、それぞれが一つの秘跡界に匹敵する聖人のなり損ない。枢機卿ノイセオナトール・グランファテマ、司祭アンドレイ・ゴット・ビバーク、シスターキアラ・キッショーイン、エクソシストミスター・ダウン。5人目は知らないけど、6人目が大公社アーガレオン。そして最後が私たちの知っているあの子、弓の称号を贈られた第7位大公社シエルってこと。あの子は殺したわよ。私なんか比べ物にならないぐらい殺してきた。
That's saying something.
相手が女子供でも容赦なく殺してきた。大公社になってから吸血鬼狩りをしてない日はないんじゃないかってぐらいに。1日、1週間、1ヶ月、何の不平も不満もなく、あの子は淡々と仕事をこなしてきた。私が聞いた中で一番長かったのは、たった一人の使徒を殺すために1年間その町の下水路に潜伏していたって話。その人は町そのものを監視できる異能があって、部外者や異常に敏感な人だった。で、あの子が選んだ手段は排水溝からの侵入と潜伏。下水路すら使徒にとっては血管みたいなものだったけど、その血管の中を流れる汚物にまでは感覚が届かなかったのね。秘跡も魔術も使えば感知される状況だったから、あの子は黒剣のエオイに飲み込んで下水に入っていった。この国の整備された下水じゃない。汚物で詰まったヨーロッパの下水路で、体を汚水に浸して顔だけを水面に出してギリギリの呼吸をして、ただ機会を待ち続ける1年間。
Jesus.
ほんと、想像するだけで寒気がする。この件ばっかりは吸血鬼に同情するわ。町を完全に支配下に置いて、やってきた代行者も全員殺して、ようやく自由に闊歩できると安心しきった人が広場に踏み出した瞬間、下水溝の網の下から一撃で即死よ。蛇だってあの子の執念深さには尻尾を巻くわ。私と組むまであの子はずっとそんな調子だった。わかる？吸血鬼を殺すことだけに特化した非人間。それがシエルなの。私たちと同じ普通の人間だなんて思わない方が身のためよ。
Or me is crazy. I mean, in the literal sense you are, but the way you act says differently. I'd assumed that Senpai had lived an eventful life, but this is more than I could have imagined. It makes total sense that Arcueid would hate Senpai. It's equally clear why Senpai would view Arcueid as an enemy. Still, despite what I've just heard, I can't see her as someone whose only purpose in life is killing vampires.
先輩のことは
Once again, I can fix her.
でもノエル先生は先生も代行者なら先輩と同じなんですか？
私が？冗談やめて。あんなのと一緒にしないで。
There you go again. Dang, the word thing has really been throwing around in terms of describing people today, huh?
私はいたって普通の人間よ。あんな風に周りを騙せないし、割り切ることだってできない。そもそも代行者としての才能がなかったの、私。修道院に3年入ってやっと半人前だった。それでも人並みには頭が回ったから、司祭様に取り入って2年かけてやっと代行者になったの。それから2年ぐらい経った後かな、あの子と知り合ったのは。あの子は埋葬期間に入ったばかりで相棒がいなかった。私は頼りになる相棒が欲しかった。ほら、あとはわかるでしょ？同郷のよしみもあったし、私たちは晴れてチーム成立。それから5年。あの子の活躍のおかげで、私はまだ生き延びてる。
Wait, time out. I felt like something was off before, but I finally managed to put my finger on it. Did she just say they've been together for 5 years?
ちょっと待ってください。先輩と5年も一緒だったんですか？
そう言ったつもりだけど、私たち5年来の師弟関係だもの。
でもそれじゃ。
Or rather, that means...
年齢が合わないでしょ？当然よ。
Yeah.
あの人、あの時から年を取ってないの。
Oh, here we go. What is this? What does this mean? I feel like I'm about to black out, but steady myself and push through. Ciel-senpai hasn't changed at all over the last 5 years. I can't tell if she's telling the truth or not. I can't even tell why I'm so surprised to learn 5 years have passed.
そんな。それじゃあまるで。
She's not even human to begin with.
そう。吸血鬼と同じよね。
Yep.
でもあの子は吸血鬼とは違う。だって完全な不老不死なんだもの。
Her statement makes my breath catch in my throat. Perfectly immortal? That can't be right. Noel sensei must be pulling my leg after all. I mean, vampires have undying bodies, but not even they have attained perfect immortality.
いいえ。あの子は本当に何をやっても死なないのよ。
Well, I'll be.
殺しても蘇る。体が燃え尽きて灰になっても元通りになっている。何が起きてもあの姿のまま生き続ける。あの子はね、分類的には吸血鬼なのよ。私たちと違って一つの命にすがっていない。だから死を怖がらず、目的を達成するまで永遠に走り続ける。成功率 100% の理由ってこういうこと。簡単でしょ？あの子に狙われた吸血鬼はもう絶対に逃げられないんだから。
じゃあノエル先生とシエル先輩は？
そう。私が弟子で、彼女が師匠よ。さっきのやり方だってあの人の真似事。いえ、あの人の手札はもっと凄惨かな。あの人、大抵の拷問は体験済みだから、やられるのもやるのも寒気がするほど上手なのよ。分かってくれた？代行者シエルは吸血鬼と同じ化け物なんだって。人のことを何とも思っていない殺戮者。でも吸血鬼を殺して回る分だけは生きていていい権利がある。
God damn. That seems to be what she wanted me to hear most. I scratch at my chest and start breathing again. Right now, I feel angry. Not because I've just learned what kind of person Senpai is, or that she's actually immortal. That doesn't matter to me at all. I'm just angry at myself for being shaken by Noel's words.
今にも倒れちゃいそうね、四季君。やっぱりショックだった？
頭にくるぐらいショックです。それより何だってこんなことを話す気になったんですか、先生は。これも隠しておくべきことでしょう。
そうだけど、あなたの考え違いを正してあげたかったの。私が言うのもなんだけど、助けてもらったからって簡単に心を許しちゃダメよ。あの人だってあなたを利用しているだけなんだから。
What a dilemma this boy Shiki is stuck in. 2 women trying to use him at once? Damn, I couldn't even imagine being in a position like he is. Jesus. No, that's definitely a lie. Senpai hasn't done a single thing that could be considered using me. I'm the one who suggested we cooperate. Senpai has always been looking out for me. Not once has she asked me to do something herself.
そうなんだ。意外ね、それ。
Did you say that out
まあ
loud?
仮にそうだとしても、始まりが不正なのは変わらないわ。四季君、あの人に暗示をかけられていたことさえ気づいてないんだから。
My mind freezes at her words.
暗示。
This time I get so dizzy that I feel like I'm going blind.
そうよ。あの人は自分に好意を持つように四季君を操っていた。嘘。あなたはいつからシエルと知り合いなの？あの子を先輩と呼ぶようになったのはどんなきっかけだった？
Oh, you know what? That's totally fucking right. I mean, if Ciel isn't from here, like, how would he know to call her senpai? Like in the very beginning on that train, like, he suddenly remembered, quote unquote, that she was Ciel senpai without even knowing her, like, actually to begin with. Holy shit! That's crazy. How long have I known her? That's easy. Senpai is a 3rd-year student, and I've known her since I was a 1st year. Since I was a 1st year? Yep. I don't remember. I don't remember anything. I can't recall a single memory of spending time with Senpai at school. The earliest thing I'm able to remember is the train, yeah? That time I met her on the train. Now that she mentions it, when did I start referring to her as Senpai? I don't even know which class she's in. Thank you very much, Tono-kun. She said those words with a smile on her face. Because of that, I felt like I'd always known her.
嘘。
On top of that, there's something else. Everyone calls her Ciel like it's totally normal, but not once have I heard anyone call her by any other name. How come nobody has ever wondered why she has a name like that?
ほら見なさい。私だって赴任して仰天したわ。いくら筆跡に耐性のない一般人でも100人200人に暗示をかけるなんて並大抵の魔力量じゃないもの。さすがは第7位ってところかしらね。それとも暗示だからこれだけのことができたのかしら。暗示は所詮暗示。印象の操作に過ぎないものね。記憶そのものをいじる洗脳とは違うんだし。四季君たちはきっとシエルを疑問に思わないということだけを刷り込まれていたんでしょうね。
Ah, I see. I was a little uneasy when I first met her, but with every encounter my suspicion lessened. She seemed like she fit in perfectly wherever she was. That was Senpai's distinguishing trait.
でもそれは
That doesn't mean that Senpai was deceiving me. She had a reason.
俺たちを危険にさらさないために黙っていただけでしょ。
ええ、一般生徒にはね。でも四季君はもう違う。あの地下を知った以上、暗示は解いてあげるべきだった。それに、教えてあげるべきことを黙っている。というのは思いやりになるのかしら。知られたら都合が悪いから、黙っているだけじゃないの？
I hate to say it, but she's got a point. I can do nothing but stare down at the floor and bite my tongue, as if unable to look the reality of her words in the eye.
これで分かったでしょ？あの人がいい子ちゃんに見えるのは全部演技なんだって。ええ、演技でなかったら今までの冷酷ぶりは何だったっていうの？
I hear the sound of grass being trampled on. When I look up, she's already made it to the exit from the courtyard.
話はこれでおしまいよ。そろそろあの人もここを見つけるだろうし、四季君と密会していたなんて知られたら何をされるかわからないわ。最悪、四季君と私、もう用済みだからって消されるかも。そもそも四季君は知っちゃいけないことをたくさん知っちゃったし、なんであれ、証拠隠滅はしなくっちゃね。
証拠隠滅って何を？
そう。それはこれからの行動次第よ、四季君。あの子の機嫌を損なわないよう、あの子に見逃してもらえるよう、せいぜい頑張ってみれば。
I think it's a little too late for that,
仕事
though.
が全部終わった後は、いつも通り、死人に口なしってオチでしょうけど。
I'm seething with anger and indignation. That's not how this will end. Even if Senpai does want to protect her secrets, she said she'd just erase my memories. Though, that said, there's a part of me that wonders whether she really can just erase this 1 week's worth of memories.
そうそう。そういう顔してもらわないと危険を冒した甲斐がないわ。それじゃあね、四季君。今日の話をちゃんと胸に留めて、私みたいに何もかも台無しにされないよう気をつけて。
待て。
I call out to stop her, but it's already too late. The woman who invited me to this otherworldly place to tell me all about her version of the truth has disappeared, a smile on her face. Holy hell. What a lore dump. The spider of anxiety has crawled its way into the recesses of my skull. Shaking my head to clear away the cobweb it spun inside my mind, I too take my leave of the abandoned factory, now dyed a deep red by the setting sun. Jesus.
Y'all think I'm soft? I'll kill you all. I'll sell all your bones on Amazon. I kill all your kids. I'll kill
No!
your mom.
No!
I don't care love.
It didn't say that.
I'll drink your blood.